Okay, made some progress on the Bolens here without even really doing anything yet. But what I was doing is a little more diagnosis to make sure it was the points, not a faulty plug, wire, or coil, before I pulled all the tin off. And you start by checking to make sure you got power to the coil. So we ground our test lamp, turn our key on, we lose our ground, and we got power to the coil. Now all points are is an off and on switch to the ground. It gives the ground to the coil charges up. When the points open up, it loses the ground and it discharges the charge in the coil. So now we go to the hot and we lose that because my tool is messed up. So now we're just checking for ground of the coil, which we don't have at the moment. But when I turn the engine, if I turn the engine, see the light comes on, that means the point's closed. Now we have ground to the coil. We turn the engine some more. We get to the point where the point's open, and nothing happens. There we go. So we get to the point where the point's open, it loses its ground like it's supposed to. So when I was testing that, it wasn't working, which was showing that the points were not closing. So I think they were sticking open. As I was fiddling with it, I started to get an intermittent spark. And the more I messed with it, the more I cranked it over, the more the spark came back. Now I have a pretty steady spark. So I believe just from sitting, the points were sticking open or just didn't have a good connection, but they've burned their way through now, whatever debris was on them, and I do have spark. However, I cannot get this thing to turn over fast enough to start the engine. So I'm going to have to pull the starter radar off, open it up, and see if I can service it or not. So I'm going to start pulling that, and I'll bring you back when I'm ready to open it. I've already put some wetness marks on here, so I'll get it back together properly. Now I'm more familiar with alternators and generators, so hopefully I don't give out any bad information here. But this is your charge wire, for at least when it's a charging system. You apply current to it, in this case, to turn it into an electric motor, and it starts the engine. When you stop cranking it over, this is the field, and the voltage regulator thrills this to get the stator to start feeding this, which charges your battery. So this is the connection to the stator, and it is both the start wire and the charge wire, and this is the field wire that goes to the voltage regulator. All a generator is an electric motor. It creates DC current. I'll have brushes on this end. Let me see if I can get some light in there. There's a brush there and a brush there that are rubbing on the commutator on the armature. And the brushes are a little worn on this, but not real bad. We got some damage here. Windings on the stator. Insulation's pulled off of it. Doesn't look like it damaged that, because yeah, there's another wrapping of some kind there to hold it together, and it's not damaged, so it just pulled the insulation off. Okay, looks like our windings are okay. Maybe. I'm not sure why I have continuity between both the field and the stator. They'd have to be part of the same winding for that to be okay. Which I don't know. I'll have to do some research. But either winding either winding has no continuity with the ground, so that's a good sign. We're not shorted out in there. And then I just want to make sure none of these windings are grounded, so we're just going to run all across the commutator to the body here. And there's no shorts there. That's a good sign. So now, I think these are in pairs if I remember them right. Okay. So our armature is testing good. We have no continuity between the windings and the case, and we have continuity between all the windings. Okay, so I'm going to do that all the way around there. I'm just cutting the mica down on the commutator, and then I will polish it up. So I'll bring you back when I'm done with that. Okay, I've undercut all the mica using that screwdriver. Actually, a better way to do that is to use like a broken hacksaw blade, because it's a hard steel and it'll cut in there pretty good. But using the point of that tiny screwdriver worked. Now I'm going to polish it up. My setup's not the best because I don't have a proper armature chuck, so I just have this 1/2 inch chuck open enough to accept that. And then I have the nut chucked up here because there's actually no center on either end of this thing. So anyway, I'm running it really slow and I'm going to polish this up. It's got it on back gears. should do it. Okay, I've cut away at that damaged insulation and then put a coat of fresh lacquer on it, and then I'll let it dry and do another coat or two just to keep it thick. And then probably start reassembly, because we haven't found anything wrong with it. Everything seems to be testing out. So hopefully a good service is all it needed. We'll find out. Okay, the varnish or the lacquer is still drying. So I did some research and couldn't really find conclusively whether you're supposed to have continuity between field and stator, but I'm pretty sure you are, because I have them hooked up right now to the power supply here, and what it's done is it's energized the coils to now we have an electromagnet. So I'm pretty sure those are doing what they're supposed to do. I was also reminded that my method of checking the armature was kind of crude. You're actually supposed to do a 180 test all the way around and compare your ohm readings, and then a bar to bar test and compare to ohm readings. See if you have any drastic changes in resistance to let you know if you have any open windings. I know basically I was just checking for continuity and shorts, which is quick and dirty, but not really very detailed. I'll put a link in the description below of a pretty good video that's quick and shows you how to do it the proper way, rather than try to fit that all in this video. So when this is dry, we're going to reassemble this. I did pull out the ohm meter and did a proper test on it, and it does check out good. So again, when this is dry, we'll put it back together and test it out and see what happens. It's back together, oiled, serviced, hopefully functional. The little power supply there doesn't have enough amperage to spin this thing, so I brought in the green power supply. So let's give it a shot. Well, it passes the bench test, but I don't know if that tells us a whole lot, because it did spin before, just not very well. So now I'll put it back in the tractor and we'll see what happens.